We're going to be making a technical sketch today using a template that I've developed. It's an 8-head template, and we're going to be drawing this blouse on the right. So you're going to use this template, download it from my YouTube channel. It's an 8-head template, which is the proportion of a human. There's 8 heads on the right. You can see there's reference points there for the chin, shoulder, bust, waist, hip, knee, and ankle. It's over a light box with the number 2 pencil. It's pretty much all you'll need, and maybe a couple of pens. This pen is a 0.5 millimeter, and this one's a 0.4 millimeter. And these you can get on Amazon for about $1 a piece. The 0.4 I like to use for top stitch details on the sketch. This is a Tamaki ruler. It has these little circles on it, which are great for buttons, which we'll be using, and for the neck. And this is a 6-inch see-through ruler. And this here is a French curve to help with all the center front plackets and any curves you might need. And, of course, a rubber eraser. All these things together probably are less than $10. The light box is $20 on Amazon. Okay, so let's get started. We've got a plain piece of copy paper. You're going to clip it to the light box, which is over the 8-head template. I start at the top, at the neck, and work my way down. And typically what I like to do is I like to get the outline done so that the rest is just filling it in, just so that I know I have the proportion of the outline. You don't want to make the placket and everything else first because it may not be in proportion to the rest of the garment. This one happens to be one that's very simple that I've chosen. Now you can see here I'm looking at the Tamaki circles to find out what circle is best for the neck opening of the collar. For this example, we're assuming that the sketch to the left and the right are the same size. So now I'm going to draw in the collar, and you can see I'm outlining, trying to figure out. So now I'm drawing the collar. You can see the collar spread. It's a little bit open. The center front is open for the aesthetic of the blouse, and it's separated with the collar stand open. This is just for an aesthetic thing. You can just actually draw the placket straight down if you want. Now the blouse has got a drop shoulder, and as you can see, I'm taking it down below the horizontal line because no one's shoulder is exactly horizontal. You can use a ruler if you want to draw the shoulders slope down, but it's not exactly straight. And so I like to make it kind of more organic by using a pencil and making it a little bit rounded. Now you can see here that there's a button where the bust is, because on a women's blouse, that's typically where a button is placed so that it doesn't gap open there. So that gives you a proportion. It's about 10 inches to there, and it'll give you an idea of how long to make the blouse, because to me the blouse looks like it's around hip or maybe a little bit below hip. So I'm trying to figure out here the length, because next what I'll do is I will put the side seams in, and that's just to kind of help me so that I know where to put the sleeve, because the sleeve looks like it's about 1/3 of the way up the length of the body from if you're looking at the hem. And the hem is maybe not curved, but it looks like it's curved here. You can also, on the spec sheet, you can put high point shoulder to hem and high point shoulder to side seam so that the pattern maker knows if they're drafting a curved seam or a straight seam. And we'll go over those measurements in another video. Okay, now what we'll do is we will figure out kind of where the drop shoulder is and where the sleeve is. And to me, the shoulder from the high point shoulder, which is at the collar, down to the drop shoulder, and then the length of the balloon sleeve is about the same. So I'm drawing it so that it's about even. We're assuming these two sketches are approximately the same size, but if they're different sizes, if your tech pack is larger, then scale it. Next, what we'll do is we will draw the center front. And for that, what we're going to do is we will be using the French curve, and I will just kind of sketch the center front and kind of draw it by hand and get a general shape before I put the ruler down. And that'll be a guide. And as you get better at this, you won't need to sketch where you kind of want it. You'll just be able to intuitively use the French curve and figure out where to put that. And you can even maybe go straight to pen. But in the beginning, you'll want to use this. You want to sketch it with a pencil and then find a part of the curve, that French curve, that matches what you've sketched. And then what you'll do is you'll flip it over and you'll do the other side if it's not asymmetrical. And you'll make both sides of the placket. And you can see we're assuming these sketches are approximately the same size. You can see here, it takes some playing around. Sometimes it's not obvious. And then here you can see where the placket comes to meet. The shape of the placket changes at the bust button. So what I'm doing is I use the very fast part of the French curve to blend that to the straight portion. From below the bust button down is straight. So now we're going to try and figure out where to put the buttons. And if you look at the sketch on the right, there's one button on the collar stand and then one between that and the bust button. So what we're going to do now is we'll measure the distance between those three buttons, and we'll continue it down the center front placket so that they're all even to the hem. Unless, of course, you have a design feature and the buttons are not evenly spaced. But if you're recreating the sketch to the right, they're all even. Or if you're looking at a garment that's hanging up in front of you or something else, you'll want to make sure that it obviously matches. So now we're ready to ink in, and we're going to use the 0.5 millimeter for the outline. It's the heavier of the two. I mentioned that I had a 0.4. We'll start at the neck. I'm going to use a straight ruler for the collar, and then I'll go back to the Tamaki circle template that I used to draft it with pencil, and now I'm going to use it again to ink in. It goes pretty quickly once you get the hang of it. And so we're using this fairly simple blouse to get your eye-hand coordination going and get the idea that technical sketching is not scary. It's just a matter of repetition and practice. So here you can see where I've measured that from the high point shoulder to the end of the sleeve is about halfway is where the drop shoulder is. And again, I'm just inking in the body so that I know where the sleeve goes. And making the hem curved. And now we can go back and use the Tamaki ruler to continue to ink this in. So I'm going to speed this up for a little bit so that you can see me inking it in. And then I will cut the rest of it out and you will see the finished product. One final comment, you might want to give the sketch a little bit of dimension. You can just typically darken it where there might be a shadow, under the hem a little bit, or the hem of the sleeve, or the body, or under the collar. Okay, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. You learned something. Leave me a comment if you'd like, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.